Okay, hello out there in video land. We're continuing the Wandering Rocks section of Ulysses today. And there, I'll put a key in the description of this video and a link. So if you want to read along or read it later, you can do that as well. And for now, we will get started. We're going to be reading Wandering Rocks is composed of different scenes all over the city of Dublin. And when we finish one little chapter, we're going to stop and discuss that before we go on to the next. So that being said, here we go. Almidano Artifoni said. He gazed over Stephen's shoulder at Goldsmith's knobby pole. 2 carfuls of tourists passed slowly, their women sitting 4, gripping frankly the headrest, pale faces. Men's arm frankly round their stunted forms. They looked from Trinity to the blind column porch of the Bank of Ireland where pigeons roo-coo-cooed. Next.
Thanks, Duncan.
Oh, I can do that.
Probably you should.
No problem.
Okay.
Excuse me, can someone tell me what page we're on? I wasn't here last week.
Sorry.
I don't know.
88 in the
Gabler.
Gabler, yeah.
188.
Top of 188, yes.
Thanks
Okay.
very much.
Anch'io ho avuto di questa idea, Almidano Artifoni said. Quando ero giovane come lei, io mi sono convinto che il mondo è una bestia, è peccato, perché la sua voce sarebbe un cespite de rendita, via invece lei si sacrifica. Sacrificio incruento, Stephen said, smiling, swaying his ash plant in slow swing-swung from its midpoint lightly. Speriamo, the round mustachioed face said pleasantly, ma Dio retta a me, he refletta. By the stern stone hand of Grattan, bidding halt, an Inchicore tram unloaded straggling Highland soldiers of a band. Di refetero, Stephen said, dancing down the solid trouser leg. Ma sul serio, eh? Almidano Artifoni said. His heavy hand took Stephen's firmly. Human eyes. They gazed curiously an instant and turned quickly towards the donkey tram. Et polo, Almidano Artifoni said in a friendly haste. Venga a trovarmi a ci pensi adio caro. Arrivederla maestro, Stephen said, raising his hat when his hand was freed. E grazie. Di che? Almidano Artifoni said. Scusi, eh? Tanta bellicosi. Almidano Artifoni, holding up a baton of rolled music as a signal, trotted on stout trousers after the donkey tram. In vain he trotted, signalling in vain along the route of the bare-kneed gillies, smuggling implements of music through Trinity Gate.
Okay.
And whatever about my Italian pronunciation, I have no idea what any would mean.
Actually, you do have some idea what you're doing.
Yes.
Some idea, yeah.
Good for you to take it on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan.
Good for you to take it on. I would be too cowardly to do that, so good on you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, there's a couple little tricks, and one of the tricks is if it's a CH, it's a K sound.
Okay.
If it's a C, it varies between a ch and a ka. And it has
It's very much like the Irish broad vowel and slender vowel rule with consonants. It's almost the same thing. It's actually the same rule, but in Italian. So C, A, O, and U are pronounced hard C, and E and I are pronounced soft, like ch. And it's the same with Italian slender vowels E and I, broad vowels, A, O, and U, make broad and slender consonants, and that changes the pronunciation. It's a very common linguistic phenomenon. And we have it in English. I mean, we don't pay any attention to it, but we have it in English. We say giant and gigolo and jest, but we say go and gaff and golf. It's the same rule. Hard G's, soft G's, hard C's, soft C's.
Yep, right on. Same word, garage.
Garage, right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so actually to take as an example, if you go to that first thing in Italian in this particular section and you slide over the first, let's see, the first one is that ANCHIO, that's anch'io. So the CH is a K. And then slide further to the next line where it's come. So that's also a K sound. But when you get to, where's a good example? Okay.
Voce,
Just Pete.
la sua voce.
Ah, yeah.
Mhm.
Is lay with her or with him?
Yes.
Okay. And
It's the
why
formal.
capital L? Why the capital L? Who are we talking about?
I think lay here means you, does it not?
No, I think he's making a comparison between Stephen and Jesus at the same age.
Okay.
So you're young as
Oh.
you were as young as he, capital L.
That would explain the capital L, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other comments or questions about this particular section?
I was
Would anyone,
Sorry, go ahead.
would anyone care to translate word for word the Italian?
I have a
Also-
translation, but if anybody has one that they want to go with.
No, I'd be going back to my senior year Italian. If you have a
Yeah.
good translation, use that one.
At
I
the very first word means but, so it's not a really expressive. He's not shouting. He's saying ma, they're having a conversation and he's ma.
But then it goes, do you want to go on, Bill?
No, go ahead.
Translation.
I've got this idea too. Almidano Artifoni said, when I was young, like you,
Like
Um,
him, like him.
like him with, okay. I was certain the world was a beast. A shame because your voice could be an asset, a source of income. Instead, you sacrifice yourself.
Mm.
Is that
Hmm.
about
Okay.
right?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. So what's incruento? Incruento.
Bloodless sacrifice.
Yeah.
Bloodless sacrifice.
Right. So again, the
There's the word
comparison to
here.
Jesus,
Okay.
a bloodless sacrifice.
Huh.
Speriamo, I hope.
we hope.
We hope, I mean, right.
And then think about it.
Let
Yeah.
us hope. Listen to me. Think about it.
Think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably let us hope. We hope it could be we hope, but it's probably the
Or
What's
I
that?
hope so. I hope
What's-
so.
what's that form of speech? Let us. I can't remember now. There's a term for it.
Is it a form of the imperative, Bill?
Yeah, yeah, it would be a form of the imperative.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's I hope so, right? With the MO ending.
The
Hmm.
amo is we. Amo is the singular,
Us.
is the plural nominative.
Oh, okay.
So we hope.
Yeah,
We hope.
we hope. Or it could be translated, let us hope.
Right.
Right.
Okay. And this is all reflective of a relationship that the actual Stephen Joyce had with his Italian teacher, if I'm not mistaken.
Getzi.
Berlitz School in Zurich.
Could I just ask,
In
the word
Trieste.
capital L-E-I means him or her?
Yes, him in this.
Him. Okay, thank you.
But it's only capitalized because it's referring to Jesus, to the divine. It's a capital L. Because I mean he's there. Stephen's talking about leaving. I mean he's talking to Artifoni about his plans to leave Ireland, and Artifoni's saying, yeah, he had similar ideas when he was the same age as Jesus, 30 or so, that the world is horrible, whatever. And then you talk about the sacrifice, and then Stephen says a bloodless sacrifice in his case, meaning anyway.
According to Ellman, the Artifoni character is based on Getzi, Ghezzi, who was Stephen's lecturer in UCD in Italian.
360.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's a music teacher, right?
No, I think he's his Italian teacher. He's just saying, I mean, he just knows that Stephen has a good voice.
He's a dance teacher.
He
isn't he?
wants
No, Artifoni
No?
is the dance
his music
teacher.
Oh, okay.
career.
That's McGinney.
Maggini.
Nagini?
Oh, okay.
According to Ellman, he says Getzi was sympathetic to him being Joyce, and the two men retained an affection for each other. Getzi appears in Joyce's books with a benign character and the euphonious name of Almidano Artifoni.
Mhm.
What about Goldsmith's knobby pole? Is that a statue?
Yes. Grattan. There's the Stonehenge of Grattan. That's one statue, and then Goldsmith as well. It's another statue. It's interesting that in my text anyway. So in the first sentence it's Artifoni, and then later on it's Artefano.
Hmm.
Decay Almidano Artifano said. Now I don't know if that's a misprint or a typo, because then it goes back to Artifoni.
And the DK one and the Wordsworth that have the same spelling in both.
The Gabler has them both as
Hmm.
Artifoni.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So this is just an error in the text then.
Okay, but I can see where Katrina went through, because the next sentence is Almidano Artifoni holding up a baton of rolled music as a signal.
Mm.
Doesn't he? He shows up earlier. I think we've seen him already,
There
but I can't remember where.
is a real Almidano Artifoni.
Yeah.
Born on the 5th of March, 1873 in Lombardy. He taught for 5 years in the Berlitz School of Languages in Hamburg, Germany, where he became director. 1900 came to Trieste. Was temporary Spanish teacher when the Berlitz School opened in 1901. Blah, 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 blah. Artifoni taught accountancy at the Evening School of Unpronounceable. He probably helped Joyce to get a job teaching English between 1910 and 13. He remained in Trieste after the First World War, working for the law courts as an accountancy expert. Joyce borrowed his name for Stephen's voice training teacher in Dublin on account of its musicality. Or maybe as a mark of the fact that Artifoni had given him the job, had got him a job. Artifoni never visited Dublin. He died in 1950 in Trieste, is buried in such a place. So kind of good mixture there of different characters, isn't there? In blended.
Yeah.
This is back to the rabbit hole syndrome again, isn't it, Joe?
Oh yeah, we're well down through the network. That's one of the disadvantages of stopping at every asterisk.
So the Bare Kneed Gillies, I assume to be a kilted pipe band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scots.
Yeah.
Oh, the route to the Bare Kneed Gillies, smuggling implements of music through Trinity Gates.
Right. They're going to play for the Viceregal cavalcade, I think, eventually. But
Would they have been bringing in bagpipes, I wonder?
bagpipes and drums, maybe a big bass drum.
Okay.
Shall we move on to the next one?
You know what? I have one little comment about the writing at the very end. This is something that Joyce does several places where the language order echoes the motion involved, where he says, in vain he trotted, signaling in vain. It's like a trot. You can hear the trot. In vain he trotted, signaling in vain. And he does that here and there, and it's really fun.
Music through Trinity Gates. Yeah. Yeah, that works. Signaling in vain among the rout of Bare Kneed Gillies, smuggling implements of music through Trinity Gates.
It's trotting along.
Okay. Who's the next reader?
I am.
Okay.
Miss Dunn hid the Capel Street Library copy of The Woman in White far back in her drawer and rolled a sheet of gaudy notepaper into her typewriter. Too much mystery business in it. Is he in love with that one, Marion? Change it and get another by Mary Cecil Hay. The disc shot down the groove, wobbled a while, ceased, and ogled them. 6. Miss Dunn clicked on the keyboard. 16th of June, 1904. 5 tall, white-hatted sandwich men between Moneypenny's corner and the slab where Wolfe Tone's statue was not, eeled themselves, turning HELYS, and plodded back as they had come. Then she stared at the large poster of Marie Kendall, charming soubrette, and listlessly lolling, scribbled on the jotter 16s and capital S's, mustard hair and dauby cheeks. She's not nice looking, is she? The way she's holding up her bit of a skirt. Wonder will that fellow be at the band tonight? If I could get that dressmaker to make a concertina skirt like Susie Nagel's, they kick out grand. Shannon and all the boat club swells never took his eyes off her. Hope to goodness he won't keep me here till 7. The telephone rang rudely by her ear. Hello? Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. I'll ring them up after 5. Only those 2, sir, for Belfast and Liverpool. All right, sir. Then I can go after 6 if you're not back. 1/4 after. Yes, sir. 27 and 6. I'll tell him. Yes, 176. She scribbled 3 figures on an envelope. Mr. Boylan, hello. That gentleman from Sport was in looking for you. Mr. Lenehan, yes. He said he'll be in the Ormond at 4. No, sir. Yes, sir. I'll ring them up after 5.
So there's Boylan. Into your phone, you see.
Oh, right. That phone from the shop.
Yeah.
There you go.
And he left 3pence on the counter then, probably, to cover it.
And you'll notice music is again the bridge. He's in the last scene, Stephen was talking to a voice teacher, and now they're the concertina skirt, and we're going back to Blazes when we saw the one before. And I think it interesting. I did not know that Stephen was contemplating a career in music until this scene. And that's why he should stay in Dublin.
He was quite a good singer, as far as I know, and he entered a competition, and he didn't win it. And I think that's why he didn't pursue the music career.
Yeah, he decided that he couldn't compete with McCormick, as I understand it.
Well,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think that was it. Yeah.
He couldn't read music. Isn't
that's
that
the
one
problem. He couldn't read music, but he came second to McCormick. He was that
Yeah.
good. And actually, one of the judges thought that he actually should have won the competition, but that's been noted elsewhere.
To go forward, he needed to read it. And this is the only place that 16th of June 1904 is mentioned. Gives us the date.
Right. Well, now what about in this particular section? We actually slip inside the mind of a woman who's not Molly. I think that's most unusual in this book, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Other than the Nausicaa chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. I'd not thought about that. I'd always thought that it was the Nausicaa. It was Gertie McDowell who was first, but that's a good point. Also, another group of Ulysses people were discussing this, and it is an early reference, time-wise, 1904, to a telephone.
Oh, okay. The actual instrument of the telephone.
Right. So what is the phone call about? Like, is it about placing bets, or is there something else happening here? It's the hello, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, I'll ring them up after 5. That I'm unclear about.
It sounds like the routine business of the office. Did you call about the such and such, and will they be able? I'll ring after 5. It's like he's saying now. He works in such a place, and he won't be home until 5. So you have to guess the other side of the conversation. But it sounds like ordinary business.
Okay.
And this is Boylan's office, or
Are they not a horse race?
No,
it's
possible.
Would that be for the concert?
It's possible. Yeah, it might be the Belfast and Liverpool might be the tour that's planned. If we take this to be Boylan's office.
Well, I would think so, because we had that sentence where it says, "All right, sir, then I can go after 6 if you're not back."
Yeah.
That sounds like an employee, making sure that everything is okay with the boss.
Yeah, he said a quarter after. She can go at quarter after 6.
If she's talking to Boylan. And then in the last paragraph, she says, "Mr. Boylan, hello." So is this another phone call, or is it the same phone call?
Oh, got it. Okay.
Oh, that was my confusion as well. Yeah.
It's possible it's the same phone call, and he's going to ring off, and she just catches him. "Mr. Boylan."
Mr. Boylan, hello.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
But it's also possible they're 2 different phone calls. I don't know. I mean, it's up. Joyce is it's pretty ambiguous.
Yeah.
But then she does say, "I'll ring them up after 5." So that would be Belfast and Liverpool.
Yeah.
He's also, if we, again, no proof of it, but if we look in section 5, and maybe, sorry, I was a bit attention deficit here. Maybe this is what you were just talking about, because he's on the phone. He's making a phone call in section 5. Is this the phone call that's coming through in section 7?
Yeah.
It's pretty likely.
Okay. All right. Maybe you just said that. I'm not sure.
Does Miss Dunn get mentioned later? When Bloom is thinking of his strategies to deal with Mr. Boylan, he contemplates making obscene phone calls to his secretary. I wonder, does it
wonder if that's Miss Dunn?
Yeah, this is what do you call that sort of warfare? Unsymmetrical counterattack, you know. If he loses his secretary, he's going to be busy trying to interview girls and to distract them from Molly, you see.
But what's the reference to the woman in white? I mean, she's got another word going on there. You know, the reference to the woman in white.
She's reading Wilkie
Well,
Collins' book.
yeah.
She's borrowed it,
Yeah, she's reading the
Mm.
work.
but she doesn't like it because it's more mystery than it is romance.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I get that, but I just wondered why he just set that in there.
And the first intrusion sends us ahead to another section, right, about the discs shooting down into the groove.
Yeah.
Right. So that's
Yeah.
Tom Rockford.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is happening at the exact same time, apparently.
Yeah.
That-
That is, sorry?
I don't understand. What's
The disc going down into the groove? What's that?
This is the
when Tom Rockford's giving a demonstration to the other people, we'll see that later on, but that's what is happening at this time during the phone call. When we see that episode later, we'll remember that was happening when Boylan was on the phone.
Okay, so that's another space
thanks.
bleeding in
Right,
to this.
right.
To this.
It's knitting it together with section 9.
Mm-hmm.
And about the Heatley sign, he's getting a lot of mileage out of that sign, isn't he? About those people carrying those sandwich boards.
He does.
Yeah, yeah. Apostrophe S.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah. And Lenihan seems to work, the gentleman from Sport. He seems to be double jobbing. You know, he's that's not the Freeman. But he was in the Freeman's office. Now he's working for a magazine called Sport a few minutes later, you know, I think perhaps I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he might have been covering sports for the Freeman, in addition to doing other things. I mean, he's a reporter, so he might have had the sports beat.
But never far from a watering hole, Bill.
Yeah.
That would be the case with journalists normally, wouldn't it?
Well, given
yeah.
our experience in Aeolus.
Yeah.
Yes.
The racing special.
I really think they were talking about a horse race, but
Okay, are we ready for the next section now?
Yep.
All righty. Who is after? I believe it was. Okay, Joe, take it away, Joe.
Two pig faces turned in the flare of the tiny torch. Who's that? Ned Lambert asked. Is that Crotty? Ring a bell in Crosshaven, a voice replied, groping for foothold. Hello, Jack. Is that yourself? Ned Lambert said, raising in salute his pliant lath among the flickering arches. Come on, mind your step there. The vesta in the clergyman's uplifted hand consumed itself in a long, soft flame and was let fall. At their feet, its red speck died, and mouldy air closed round them. How interesting, a refined accent said in the gloom. Yes, sir, Ned Lambert said heartily. We are standing in the historic council chamber of St. Mary's Abbey, where Silken Thomas proclaimed himself a rebel in 1534. This is the most historic spot in all Dublin. O'Madden Burke is going to write something about it one of these days. The old Bank of Ireland was over the way till the time of the Union. And the original Jews' temple was here too, before they built their synagogue over in Adelaide Road. You were never here before, Jack, were you? No, Ned. He rode down through James Walk, the refined accent said, if my memory serves me. The mansion of the Kildares was in Thomas Court. That's right, Ned Lambert said. That's quite right, sir. If you will be so kind then, the clergyman said, the next time to allow me perhaps. Certainly, Ned Lambert said. Bring the camera whenever you like. I'll get those bags cleared away from the windows. You can take it from here or from here. Bill?
In the still faint light, he moved about, tapping with his lath the piled seed bags and points of vantage on the floor. From a long face, a beard and gaze hung on a chessboard. I'm deeply obliged, Mr. Lambert, the clergyman said. I won't trespass on your valuable time. Oh, you're welcome, sir, Ned Lambert said. Drop in whenever you like. Next week, say. Can you see? Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Lambert. Very pleased to have met you. Pleasure's mine, sir, Ned Lambert answered. He followed his guest to the outlet and then whirled his lath away among the pillars. With J.J. O'Malloy, he came forth slowly into Mary's Abbey, where draymen were loading floats with sacks of carob and palm nut meal. O'Connor, Wexford. He stood to read the card in his hand. The Reverend U.C. Love, Rathcoffey. Present address, St. Michael's, Sallins. Nice young chap he is. He's writing a book about the Fitzgeralds, he told me. He's well up in history, Faith. The young woman with slow care detached from her light skirt a clinging twig. I thought you were at a new gunpowder plot, J.J. O'Malloy said. Ned Lambert cracked his fingers in the air. God, he cried, I forgot to tell him the one about the Earl of Kildare after he set fire to Cashel Cathedral. You know that one? I'm bloody sorry I did it, says he, but I declare to God I thought the Archbishop was inside. He might like it, though. What? God, I'll tell him anyway. That was the great Earl, the Fitzgerald Moore. Hot members they were, all of them, the Geraldines. The horses he passed started nervously under their slack harness. He slapped a piebald haunch quivering near him and cried, Whoa, Sonny. He turned to J.J. O'Malloy and asked, Well, Jack, what is it? What's the trouble? Wait a while, hold hard. With a gaping mouth and head far back, he stood still and after an instant sneezed loudly. He said, Blast you. The dust from those sacks, J.J. O'Malloy said politely. No, Ned Lambert gasped. I caught a cold night before last, your soul, night before last, and there was a hell of a lot of draft. He held his handkerchief ready for the coming. I was this morning, poor little, what do you call him? Mother of Moses.
Well read.
Hey.
Bless you, Bill.
Bravo,
Thank
bravo.
you.
Hope you feel better soon.
Tom Rochford took the top disc from the pile. He clasped
I think
against
we're in a new section. I think we're
Yeah. I think we better hold off just a little bit, Susan.
sorry, Susan.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I would like a little clarity on the section that was just read.
Yeah.
I think the reason we're in the dark is because it happens in the dark.
Yeah, pardon.
I mean, you just have to see that, like the
Right.
festa is a match, or
Right. Yeah.
It's taking place mainly in the dark, and the theme invests the text or invades the text.
I like that you see love. It's like you see love.
Where you see?
The Reverend Hugh C. Love. It's like, U-Y-O-U.
Oh, okay, but then towards the end of it, yes.
Mm. And then he sticks in the young woman with the twig, you know, from before in her skirt.
Right. Yeah.
I know that's jumping ahead. That's the only thing.
I'm actually, no, it's referring to something that happens in, as well. It refers to something that happens in the first section where Father John Conmee
Yeah.
observes them coming out of the out through the hedge.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking of. That's this, but she just comes.
That's the starters.
She's in the middle of nowhere here.
Yeah.
It's one of the intrusions, Sylvia. It's one of those instances where Joyce throws something in from another section.
Yeah,
I think the implication is it's happening at this time there instead of here.
All right. Yeah.
So it's a way of keeping track of time or simultaneity.
Mm-hmm.
So Ned Lambert and UC Love are in the darkened room. J.J. O'Malloy comes in and lights a match because it's dark and he hasn't adjusted to the light yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so the two pink faces are you, Love, and Ned Lambert. And Lambert says, "Who's that? Is that Crotty?" And then O'Malloy says, "Ringabella and Crosshaven," which I guess is some kind of a coded, not a coded message, but it means something to Lambert to identify. It might be where Malloy lives or where
They're places.
Right. It's
I know they're just places. Yeah.
Cork and Lambert is from Cork, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Lambert recognizes him. "Hello, Jack. Is that yourself?"
Is that no, I'm someone else.
But I get the match is in the clergyman's hand. So
yeah, that's his tiny torch.
Right.
Well, Lambert is down there in the dark.
What are the clergymen and Ned Lambert doing in the dark room, and what is the dark room?
Well, it's the under. You can actually go into that place. I can't remember what it is now. St. Mary's Abbey. What is it? And it's a kind of a pub, isn't it now?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was. It's presumably Lambert is up to some work in the basement, and Father, what's his name? Here we don't call him Father. Reverend Love wants to take a few historical photographs of the place sometime.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think Lambert has, for some reason, Lambert has access to this spot, and UC Love is writing a book, and wants to document historical places related to the Geraldines.
Yeah, but Lambert is holding a pliant lat, which a lat is a piece of timber.
Just a stick. Yeah.
Used to be used to making plaster.
Yeah, right. You put lath on a wall to.
So he seems to be down there preparing the place for some sort of renovation or that. But he's working in the dark.
No, I don't think he's working. I think he just picks it up. It's on the floor. I mean, this is a ruin. This is sort of a storeroom.
It's as you say, a ruin. He could be just spinning his wheel down there doing nothing.
No, he's there specifically to give Reverend Love a tour.
Oh.
They've arranged this.
Yeah.
Ned Lambert has access to the place, and
I see. Yeah.
And Reverend Love is writing the book and wants to see this place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's dark and gloomy, so that they have to light a match to see for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lambert says, I can uncover the windows for you so there'll be more light, and I can move these bags and things. And he just picks up a lath that's just lying there.
Yeah.
To point out different, you could sit here, you could put your camera here. He hits it with the stick, or here. I can move these bags, and he just touches them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Lambert is definitely talking like a tour guide or a historical expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this another interjection from another place from a long face, a beard and gaze hung on a
Yes.
chessboard. Where is
Yes.
that from?
Parnell's
That's-
brother.
That's Parnell's brother, who's
Another-
playing chess in the DBC.
Something just struck me as funny that we're saying that he's going to be writing a book about Dublin, and that's what Joyce is doing. He's writing a
Yeah.
book about Dublin.
Yeah.
So it's a self-reference.
Yeah, except Reverend Love's book's a little more specifically about the Fitzgeralds,
Yeah.
but and the historic places that they were associated with. So it's definitely related to Dublin, but not specifically about Dublin.
Is Ned Lambert in Dubliners? Anyone remember?
What was it?
I'll find out, Joe. I'll find out. Keep talking, and I'll figure it out.
I'm just trying to place him. Why we know about him?
Well, he's at the funeral, and then he's in the offices in Aeolus.
Yeah. Wonder what he does. Yeah, don't mind me. I'm just having a lapse of memory.
No. I've got a book page bookmarked here. I'm actually not looking at you. I'm looking at the pages, and the pages about the characters who overlap from the two. I'm not seeing them.
Right.
There are lots.
Where is St. Mary's Abbey? Because he's given us a lot of other landmarks. Where's that supposed to be?
It's just off Mary Street, which is in the north side of the Liffey. Turn left at the GPO, and it comes that part.
Is that the old ruin, Joe? Is that the
Yeah.
old ruin down there? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not. It's no longer a ruin.
Oh, is it not? No.
It's been revamped. I've got Ned Lambert. Ned Lambert. This is the slowest. Edward Lambert, as he calls him, works at a seed and grain establishment. Oh, that's the sneezing. It's the seeds. Seed and grain establishment in the chapter house of the Cistercian Foundation, St. Mary's Abbey. So
Okay.
it is no longer the Cistercians. It once was the Cistercian monastery on the north side of the Liffey. So that's what he works in, the seed merchants.
I don't know if I'm sorry I had to step away. I don't know if anybody mentioned it, but JJ O'Malloy is still trying to borrow money.
Mhm.
And that's why he's tracked down Ned Lambert here. He probably asked, "Did anybody see Ned?" And they said, "Oh yeah, he's over with
with this reverend guy.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Sorry,
yeah,
Joe,
'cause-
just to go back a second, back to that church in St. Mary's. Is it sort of a church followed by a monastery building with a monk, a statue of a monk outside it? Just up from the law library.
I don't know. Like I've been there, but it's a good 15 years since I've been there.
I drove past it today.
Yeah, well, there you go. You see, but I mean, you can go on historical tours of Dublin, like walks and talks in Dublin that we did at UCD. I was there a couple of times with them, and but it's all gentrified now. You can have cappuccino stuff in there. But the windows are it's very, 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 very fine, small building, but it's it's historical.
Joel, if you're interested, in the chat, I put a link to the web page which lists those characters who are in both Dubliners and in Ulysses.
Okay? Oh, that's very, very handy. I'm looking at that now. Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I found it quite useful.
Oh yeah, because it's so like real life, trying to remember who's where, and
I know.
It's fantastic.
Oh wow! Oh, thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
My sources say that the chapter house is the only part that remained after the abbey itself was burned down, and it was taken over by the seat merchants as a warehouse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks.
Right location.
Are we going to go on or not?
Susan, just before we do, I'm wondering, Joyce makes a big deal about the sneezing at the end. I mean, I get it; it's a seed place, but is this just like a homey detail of local flavor, or is there greater significance than that he's sneezing? Is it Bill because he's trying to avoid giving O'Malloy a loan, trying to change the subject?
No, I don't think so, because he says it's not the dust, it's because he was out last night and he caught a cold. So
Right. Okay.
we're probably somewhere along the line, if we remember, we'll find the reference to where he was the night before and you know how he might have caught a cold, but it's just an incident. A bit of local flavor and local color, I guess. You know, it's one of those things, one of the many bodily human functions that Joyce can't prevent himself from talking about. He does, you know, anything that we can do. People spit, they cough, they sneeze, they fart, they poop, they pee. You name it, they do it.
They. Okay, are we ready?
Yep.
All right, Susan, take it away.
Tom Rochford took the top disc from the pile he clasped against his claret waistcoat. See, he said, say it's turn 6. In here, see. Turn now, on. He slid it into the left slot for them. It shot down the groove, wobbled a while, ceased ogling them. 6. Lawyers of the past, haughty, pleading, beheld pass from the Consolidated Taxing Office to Nisi Prius Court, Richie Golding, carrying the cost bag of Golding, Collis, and Ward, and heard rustling from the Admiralty Division of King's Bench to the Court of Appeal, an elderly female with false teeth, smiling incredulously, and a black silk skirt of great amplitude. See, he said, see now the last one I put in is over there, turns over, the impact, leverage, see? He showed them the rising column of discs on the right. Smart idea, Nosy Flynn said, snuffling. So a fellow coming in late can see what turn is on and what turns are over. See, Tom Rochford said. He slid in a disc for himself and watched it shoot, wobble, ogle, stop. 4. Turn now on. I'll see him now in the Ormond, Lenehan said, and sound him. One good turn deserves another. Do, Tom Rochford said. Tell him I'm boiling with impatience. Good night, McCoy said abruptly. When you two begin. Nosy Flynn stooped towards the lever, snuffling at it. But how does it work here, Tommy? He asked. Tooraloo, Lenehan said. See you later. He followed McCoy out the tiny square of Crampton Court. He's a hero, he said simply. I know, McCoy said. The drain, you mean? Drain, Lenehan said. It was down a manhole. Next.
They passed Dan Lowry's music hall, where Mary Kendall, charming soubrette, smiled on them from a poster, a Dobby smile. Going down the path of Sycamore Street beside the Empire Music Hall, Lenehan showed McCoy how the whole thing was. One of those manholes like a bloody gas pipe, and there's a poor devil stuck down in it, half choked, with sewer gas. Down went Tom Rockford anyway, took his vest and all, with a rope around him. And be damned, but he got the rope round the poor devil, and the two were hauled up. The act of a hero, he said. At the Dolphin, they halted to allow the ambulance car to gallop past them for Jervis Street. This way, he said, walking to the right. I want to pop into Lenihan's to see how set their starting price. What's the time by your gold watch and chain? McCoy peered into Marcus Tertius Moses' sombre office, and then at O'Neill's clock. After 3, he said. Who's writing her? Oh, Madden, Lenihan said. And a game filly she is. Next.
While he waited in Temple Bar, McCoy dodged a banana peel with gentle pushes of his toe from the path to the gutter. Fellow might damn easy get a nasty fall there coming along tight in the night. The gates of the drive opened wide to give egress to the bicycle cavalcade. Even money, Lenihan said, returning. I knocked against Bantam limes, and they're going to back a bloody horse somebody gave him that hasn't an earthling through here. They went up the steps and under Merchant's Arch. A dark-backed figure scanned books on the hawker's cart. There he is, Lenihan said. Wonder what he's buying, McCoy said, glancing behind. Leopold or the Bloom is on the rye, Lenihan said. He said nuts on sale, McCoy said. I was with him one day and he bought a book from an old one in Liffey Street for 2 bob. There were fine plates in it worth double the money. The stars and the moon and the comets with long tails. Astronomy was wild, Lenihan laughed. I'll tell you a damn good one about comets' tails, he said. Come over in the sun. Next, please.
They crossed to the metal bridge and went along Wellington Quay by the river wall. Master Patrick Aloysius Dickman came out of Mangan's, late Fehrenbach's, carrying 1.5 pounds of pork steaks. There was a long spread out at Glencree Reformatory, Lenihan said, eagerly. The annual dinner, you know, boiled shirt stuff. The Lord Mayor was there. Val Dillon it was. And Sir Charles Cameron and Dan Dawson spoke. And there was music. Bartell Darcy sang and Benjamin Dollard. I know, Mickey broke in. My missus sang there once. Did she? Lenihan said. A card, unfurnished apartments, reappeared in the window sash of number 7 Eccles Street. He checked his tail a moment, but broke out in a wheezy laugh. But wait till I tell you, he said. Delahunt of Camden Street had the catering, and yours truly was chief bottle washer. Bloom and his wife were there. Lashings of stuff we put up. Port wine and sherry and curacao, to which we did ample justice. Fast and furious it was. After liquids came solids, cold joints galore and mince pies. I know, McCoy said. The year the missus was there, Lenihan linked his arm warmly. But wait till I tell you, he said. We had a midnight lunch, too, after all the jollification, and when we sallied forth, it was blue o'clock the morning after the night before. Coming home, it was a gorgeous winter's night on the Featherbed Mountain. Bloom and Chris Callman were on one side of the car, and I was with the wife on the other. We started singing glees and duets below the early beam of morning. She was well primed with a good load of Delahunt's port under her belly band. Every jolt the bloody car gave, I had her bumping up against me. Hell's delights. She has a fine pair, God bless her, like that. He held his caved hands a cubit from him, frowning. I was tucking the rug under her and settling her bower all the time. Know what I mean? His hands molded ample curves of air. He shut his eyes tight in delight, his body shrinking, and blew a sweet chirp from his lips. The lad stood to attention anyhow, he said with a sigh. She's a gaining mare and no mistake. Bloom was pointing out all the stars and the comets in the heaven to Chris Callahan and the Jarvie, the Great Bear and Hercules and the Dragon, and the whole jing-bang lot. But by God, I was lost, so to speak, in the Milky Way. He knows them all, Faith. At last she spotted a weeny-wishy 1 mile away. And what star is that, Goldie, says she. By God, she had Bloom recorded. That one is it, says Chris Callahan. Sure, that's only what you might call a pinprick. By God, he wasn't far wide of the mark. Lenehan stopped and leaned on the river wall, panting with soft laughter. I'm weak, he gasped. McCoy's white face smiled about it at instants and grew grave. Lenehan walked on again. He lifted his yachting cap and scratched his hind head rapidly. He glanced sideways in the sunlight at McCoy. He's a cultured all-round man, Bloom is, he said seriously. He's not one of your common or garden, you know. There's a touch of the artist about old Bloom. Next.
I'm next, but we're at the end of a section.
Yeah,
Yes.
a lot going on.
So what is Tom Rockford doing? It sounds like he's got a projector of slides of something, but he can't.
What is the disc anyway?
Yeah, it's a machine. With
You're on mute, Bill. You're muted, Bill.
He's invented a machine that will tell people coming into the music hall what act is on. So, acts were continuous. You go into the music hall. It wasn't like you'd go to the 1 o'clock show and you'd get there on time and you'd stay there. You could go in at any time.
Oh.
This would tell you what act was playing.
And the phrase turn now on means
Right.
the person whose turn it is, that turn on the stage is on.
Right. The turn. Right. Yeah.
Got it. Jeez.
The performer's turn.
Yeah.
On the stage. So whatever act it was. And it's kind of a goofy invention. I mean, I think they also had just placards that they would replace, with this is the next act. So they didn't really need a machine. But I think this machine was meant to be in the ticket booth or in the very front of the theater. So if you're passing by, or if you wanted to see a particular performer, you would know when they were going on, I guess. I don't know. But I think it's one of Rockford, I think, was maybe known for his crazy schemes. I mean, I had a friend years and years ago, and I'd run into him every week, and every week he'd say, Bill, if I'm not a millionaire by next week, I'm an asshole, And I'd see him a week later, and he'd have the same thing, but a new idea.
There you go. Yes, yes.
And so that this disc thing is just stuck in Miss Dunn's office just for.
He's just demonstrating it to. Yeah, I don't know. It's not.
Right.
It's not in use yet. It's just something he's come up with.
Sylvia, just to clarify, and it is confusing. The scene that takes place in Miss Dunn's office, the slot machine is an intrusion. It's actually not there,
right?
But it's one of those things that is throwing in to link us to this subsequent section.
Oh, yeah.
So it's never in her office, though it's confusing because it's in the chapter about her office. Sorry, Susan.
So where is this taking place? This demonstration he's doing, where is it taking place?
Is it in the forecourts?
Yeah, because in the forecourt, yeah.
So, Susan, what were you going to say?
I was that one of the things I learned from this section was that Tom Rockford was the bookie, and that may correspond to his kind of flibberty-gibbet nature that Bill was referring to. And for my mind, brings back the theme of horse tips, which I'm convinced I'm not fantasizing in this chapter.
Well, there is definitely a discussion about the race and about Scepter and the mention of Bantam Lions and Bloom's tip. And some people are aware of Bloom having given Bantam Lions a horse, and other people are not. But the other interesting thing is we hear about elsewhere about having saved a man from the sewer pipe. So Tom Rockford's a hero. What's his name? Malachi Mulligan is a hero, saved a man from drowning. Stephen is not a hero, even though it's Stephen Hero. Stephen is afraid of water and afraid of drowning. But these are two other characters that they're all very quick to praise for their courage and their willingness to sacrifice themselves. Anyway.
And is Jervis Street where the ambulance is going to Jervis Street? Is that the hospital? Was the hospital there then? Joe and Donaher?
Yes. Jervis Street is just at the end of Abbey Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Rochford is a real person. There was a real Tom Rochford who was involved he was a mechanical engineer, which explains his inventive nature, I suppose, in the novel. But there was an incident on Burr Quay. People know Burr Quay on the south side at O'Connell Bridge. A sanitation worker descended and was overcome by gas, and another rescuer went in after him and he was overcome, and a policeman went in after him and was overcome. And at that point, Tom Rochford lowered himself on a rope, tied around the other bodies. He too began to lose consciousness, but they were hauled. They were hauled up. All the bodies were hauled up, and two of the men died. So it's fictionalizing a real event, if you like, into the novel. But he was, he worked for Dublin Corporation as an engineer. But he seems to be a friend of Ned Lambert of Leadheads in the novel, which takes you back to the horses.
So apparently Tom Rockford is showing this to Lenehan because he wants Lenehan to tell Boylan about it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And where he's making his sales pitch is indeterminate.
It's going to be the Ormond Hotel at 4.
Or at the Ormond Hotel. Okay. Oh yeah,
because that happened back in the office. Yeah,
right.
Mr. Lennon, yes, he said he'll see me in the Ormond at 4.
And
when he does go into the Ormond, he does ask the girls, was Boylan in yet?
Yeah. It's going to be a target market for a machine like that, because he's what do you call a theatre productionist? He produces. So very idea.
Well, and Boylan could spread the word as he travels, as he does productions around the country.
Yeah, he needs to access his market, and it's a vehicle into it, if nothing else. So,
and then there's this weird little pun in here, which is strange because you only get the pun if you see it in print. But he says, "Do Tom Rockford said, tell him I'm boiling with impatience."
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the most marvelous thing in this section is Lenehan's remembering the night that they were all out cars and riding next to Molly, and it was just it's another image of the marriage, and a happier one.
And we see the other intrusion is Molly replacing the apartments to let sign in her window.
And we know it's where it is. But just a sort of totally irrelevant comment that years ago in Swinny's, we got a new kettle, and there were a lot of students there, and someone named it Boiling.
Oh, okay.
I
Yes,
love
yes, yes,
Name
yes.
Boiling was written across it.
So, Bill, on the topic of intrusions, my understanding, and it's causing me a little confusion here, is that the first of the intrusions is lawyers of the past, haughty pleading.
No, I don't.
Now, are you taking that actually to be part of the narrative?
Yeah, I don't think that's an intrusion. I think that this is where this is happening at the forecourts.
So, are the forecourts close to Grafton Square then?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question. Is that close to Grafton Court?
Grafton Court.
It's not. It's the other side. Yeah, it's the other side of the river, isn't it?
The other side of the
This is
river.
what I'm wondering about, Bill.
It's close enough.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd walk it, no time.
No, but if this is not an intrusion, then they make it to Crampton Court pretty quickly. If it's on the other side, if it's some distance.
I guess it is an intrusion because it's Richie Goulding who's intruding. He's walking. He's walking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's carrying the past.
Okay.
I'm assuming the last sentence is a reference to the old bitch with rotten teeth. An elderly female with false teeth smiling incredulously and a black silk skirt of great amplitude. So there must be a picture of Queen Victoria there in the courts.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, if it's a court of appeal, right? This is in a wrestling from the Admiralty Division of the King's Bench to the Court of Appeal.
Or there's an actual elderly woman in the Court of Appeal.
Correct.
Who's trying a case or suing or something.
Right. And that black silk skirt, I think, if it is Victoria, and Bill, I agree with that, it's probably pretty open, but the black silk skirt, if it is Victoria, her period of mourning when Albert died just went on and on and on.
And on and on.
That's right. Yeah. Then I have the second intrusion, if that indeed is one. The gates of the drive open wide to give egress to the viceregal cavalcade. Of this we shall see much more.
Right.
And then there's about the Master Patrick Mangans,
right,
carrying a pound and a half of pork steaks, and then as Bill pointed out, the putting that sign back in the window of 7 Eccles.
And I'm wondering if that whole sign thing is not a subtle joke,
right?
Because you have Molly going to have her assignation with Boyland, unfurnished apartments. I mean, I'm stretching my imagination here, but I'm going to say that
so you think it's a joke just for Boylan that he's supposed to see this sign? No.
I think it's a joke for us.
No, Millie's gone and they've got a room to let.
Well, I understand that. I understand that there is a basis in reality for it, but on another level, we have an unsatisfied wife.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, I got a few heads nodding with me anyway.
Yeah. And all right, so I'm not nodding.
Duncan,
I know that.
Duncan,
one thing I just to David, I would say that if it's Queen, I've never seen a picture of Queen Victoria where she was smiling. So you would not see her false teeth, I don't think.
That's a good point.
Okay. So Joe, what were you going to say?
The usual interpretation that people offer for that is that it is the signal for Boylan that Bloom is not home.
Oh.
There we go. Okay. So
I mean, that's frequently what people say at this point when it comes up. But
okay, so I'm not alone in the wilderness here.
No, not at all.
That's a good technique also.
Yeah.
And unless somebody knocks wanting to rent a room.
Oh,
Well,
well, there's a time-honored thing. Well, you know what? We just rented it.
No,
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
Yeah.
but not when she's in Boylan's arms
You know, you just
in
killed 2 birds.
flagrante.
You know?
Go
But
ahead.
Boylan is due over there anyway, isn't he? There's no
Yeah.
secret about that.
Yeah,
Right.
but
He's
it's let 'em know.
allegedly coming over to discuss the tour with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, like that. I mean, there's no evidence of it. We're just telling you what people say.
Yeah. Okay.
But the cuts, I call them. I don't call them illusions. They're cinematic cuts. In
Okay.
you see, because this is a silent movie, and
Hmm.
can anyone see Charlie Chaplin and what we read?
Hmm.
This is
Did
the
anybody see Charlie Chaplin and what we read?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. McCoy dodged a banana peel.
Mhm.
1915 film, Charlie Chaplin, and you see it from the banana skins point of view. Camera is the banana skins
Looking up
view.
at Chaplin and then
Little Charlie coming, tiny Charlie coming down the road. Well, that's the homage there by Joyce.
okay.
Wow,
This
that's fantastic.
so, and
So
and
if you
then all those
if you can turn the volume up on your microphone just a little bit, that would be good.
me,
Yes,
Yeah.
Joel, if you could.
okay.
Yeah, just about another 20% or 15-20% would be helpful. I can hear you, but I find myself straining.
Is that any better?
That's much better.
Much better.
I take it the book stand from in front of the microphone as well. That probably helps. So yeah, well, there they go. It's and then you begin to see what seems like chaos makes great sense. I've seen all these little snaps, and imagine the words written underneath.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the silent movie time. I know I'm repeating myself, but I just thought because we couldn't let Charlie.
Redundancy is good.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of redundancy.
So towards the end, we have the situation in the carriage where Lanahan is kind of playing fast and loose here with Molly. But Molly talks about that later in the Penelope chapter, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I recall, she's not happy about it.
She takes them apart in one sentence.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah. See, she wasn't taken in by that at all. By that, you know.
No.
And McCoy actually doesn't really give him much encouragement when he tells a story either, right?
No.
His face grew grave. And then Lanahan kind of backtracks and then starts talking about Bloom. He's not one of your common regard, you know, there's a touch of the artist about old Bloom. Now,
And
whether
there you have McCoy giving voice to the whole point of the novel.
Well, McCoy is also the beneficiary of Bloom's tip, is he not?
The throwaway tip.
The throwaway tip. So he has tender
believes
feelings.
himself to be, yes.
He has tender feelings towards Bloom.
Yeah. Except he hasn't taken his tip, you know. So I suppose, yeah. So.
But yeah, he does.
But is it Lanahan is saying that that Bloom has a touch of the artist?
No, that's McCoy saying that.
Yeah.
McCoy's standing up for Bloom against Lenahan's mockery of him.
He doesn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah.
So just a sec, Bill. Can we just walk through that a bit? Okay.
Yeah.
Lanahan walked on again. He lifted his yachting cap, scratched his hind head rapidly. He glanced sideways in the sunlight at McCoy. Then it says, he's an all-round man, Bloom is. I personally would take that to be McCoy speaking there. From what's said in the previous paragraph. The focus is on, Lanahan speaking there, because the focus seems to be on Lanahan
Installation.
Previous paragraph. Lenehan walked on grave, so the reference has been to Lenehan. I'm
Okay.
assuming that Lenehan is giving that last line.
Well, it says you know,
All platforms, all devices.
he said seriously. He said seriously. It could be Lenihan.
It
You know,
can sideways, yeah.
I think it's
Let it-
McCoy because
All
Lenehan
platforms, all devices.
Lenehan walks on and scratches his head. He was expecting more of a response from McCoy, and then he looks at McCoy, and when he looks at McCoy, McCoy says, he's a cultured all-around man, Bloom is.
Sure.
I'm going to put this in the category of
That's the way I
could be
read it.
one or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Because my impression of Lenehan's personality is he's a rounder, and he's a glad hander, and he doesn't mind giving compliments to everybody because I think he's always fishing for some sort of treat here or there.
There's nothing
He's got a touch of the social on him.
in numbers.
So I can at least see Lenehan after Lenehan has this memory of rubbing up against Molly, of also wanting to give a little something to Bloom by saying, well, yeah, he's oblivious about his wife, but he's got a touch of the artist to him. It could be either way.
It could be either way.
Yeah, could be either.
And I think the book, I think Joyce does this deliberately at times, where he never wants us to totally be convinced
By now.
of many things, that he wants us right in that kind of, what the hell's going on? Who's doing what?
And it says
All right.
downloads. Then the next thing is all platforms, all devices, download now.
Okay, let me see what's going on here. Are we ready to go to the next section?
Yes.
Okay, and just a reminder that I will be leaving, and probably before we finish talking about this.
Yeah.
And I think, Anne, are you going to be here for a while?
Yeah, I can be. No problem.
Okay, so, because it's easier to close the meeting at the end if one person has the big button.
Joe, I found that line. I found that line in Penelope. Lenehan's tip, cursing him to the lowest pits. That sponger he was making free with me after the Glen Creek dinner, coming back that long jolt over the Featherbed Mountain after Lord Mayor, looking at me with his dirty eyes. Val Dillon, that big heathen. So you're right. She just takes him right down.
yeah, a few others with them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and that's Lenehan's whole personality.
Yeah,
Sponging for drinks, sponging for, feels, whatever. He's after it.
Molly rewrites the novel for us effectively.
Right.
She's fantastic.
Last word. Okay,
All righty.
All right.
Who's next reader? Oh, Dave is.
I think I'm on here. Okay, so Katrina, why don't we split it 50-50 this section? I notice you're on after me, okay? All righty. Mr. Bloom turned over idly pages of the artful, awful disclosures of Maria Monk, then of Aristotle's masterpiece, crooked, botched print. Plates, infants cuddled in a ball in blood-red wounds like livers of slaughtered cows. Lots of them like that at this moment all over the world, all budding with their skulls to get out of it. Child born every minute somewhere, Mrs. Purefoy. He laid both books aside and glanced at the third, Tales of the Ghetto, by Leopold von Sacher-Masoch. That I had, he said, pushing it by. The shopman let 2 volumes fall on the counter. Them are good ones, he said. Onions of his breath came across the counter out of his ruined mouth. He bent to make a bundle of the other books, hugged them against his unbuttoned waistcoat, and bore them off behind the dingy curtain. On O'Connell Bridge, many persons observed the grave deportment and gay apparel of Mr. Dennis J. McGeaney, professor of dancing, etc. Mr. Bloom alone looked at the titles. Fair Tyrants by James Lovebirch. Know the kind that is. Had it? Yes. He opened it. Thought so. A woman's voice behind the dingy curtains. Listen, the man. No, she wouldn't like that much. Got her at once. He read the other title, Sweets of Sin. More in her line. Let's see. He read with his finger open. All the dollar bills her husband gave her were spent in the stores on wondrous count and costliest frillies for him, for Raoul. Yes, this, here, try. Her mouth glued on his in a luscious, voluptuous kiss while his hands felt for the opulent curves inside her déshabillé. Yes, take this, the end. You are late, he spoke hoarsely, eyeing her with a suspicious glare. The beautiful woman threw off her sable-trimmed wrap, displaying her queenly shoulder and heaving embonpoint. An imperceptible smile played round her perfect lips as she turned to him calmly. Mr. Bloom read again. The beautiful woman, Katrina.
Dave, why don't you finish? It's hard for me to read right now.
Okay, sounds good. Warmth showered gently over him, cowing his flesh. Flesh yielded amply amid rumpled clothes, whites of eyes swooning up. His nostrils arched themselves for prey. Melting breast ointments for him, for Raoul. Armpits, oniony sweat. Fish gluey slime, her heaving embonpoint. Feel, press, cherished, sulphur dung of lions. Young, young. An elderly female, no more young, left the building of the courts of Chancery, King's Bench, Exchequer, and Common Pleas, having heard in the Lord Chancellor's Court the case in lunacy of Potterton, in the Admiralty Division the summons, ex parte motion, of the owners of the Lady Cairns versus the owners of the bark Mona, in the Court of Appeal reservation of judgment in the case of Harvey versus the Ocean Accident and Guarantee Corporation. Phlegmy coughs shook the air of the bookshop, bulging out the dingy curtains. The shopman's uncombed hair, grey head came out, and his unshaven, reddened face, coughing. He raked his throat rudely, puked phlegm on the floor. He put his boots on what he had spat, wiping his sole along it, and bent, showing a raw skin crown, scantily haired. Mr. Bloom beheld it. Mastering his troubled breath, he said, I'll take this one. The shopman lifted, eyes bleared with old rheum. Sweets of Sin, he said, tapping on it. That's a good one.
Okay.
So our answer to the portrait of Queen Victoria, this is the old woman.
Correct.
Who's in the appeals court.
Yes, thanks, Bill. Good point. Yes, quite right.
And she's probably wearing black because she might be in mourning for one of the victims of the collision.
Yes, right. I must tell you though, your earlier point about the teeth clinched it for me that it was Queen Victoria.
I was looking up Leopold von Sacher Masoch at the start.
Yeah, that's where masochism comes from.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Quite all right.
Yeah.
I can't find his book though. He did write Tales from the Polish Ghetto. Maybe that's the same one that's being referred to.
Mm.
I'd love to know how the shopman knew how these were two good volumes, two good ones, he said.
From experience, probably.
Maybe.
Well, he either read them or he's just a good salesman. You know, he just wants to sell them. Oh, those are good ones. Oh,
I'd say that's the latter.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
There are those two court cases mentioned back with the lady in black again. The two court cases, the lunacy of Potterton and the Ocean Accident and Guarantee Corporation, they're two real cases that were heard on the 16th of June, 1904. You know, the way they have the records.
Yeah.
Okay, so Joel, we're talking about two different cases here. So is it possible that Our Lady in Black, who is not Queen Victoria, obviously, like is she kind of shopping around as a spectator for interesting cases, you think?
I don't know. I think the lady Queen Victoria is as good an explanation, you know, because there would surely be a portrait. But she might have been the Potterton was a case of lunacy. Robert Potterton, who died in 1901, was declared insane in 1880, and most probably 3 years after his death, most probably hearing in the court that to assure that his debts have been discharged, and you know, could be his widow or something as well. You know, I don't know how anyone would know.
But I think it's more likely the bark Mona and a seafaring accident. If she's in mourning, this might be an heir contesting the amount she was awarded or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
but you know, there would not be a portrait of Queen Victoria because she died in 1901, and her son is on the throne now. This is not.
Yeah.
So there would be a portrait of him if there was a portrait of anybody.
Edward, yes.
You've got to let it go, Dave. You got to let it go.
But I throw in the towel on this one. I'm defeated at every turn.
I don't know. I think it's all, you know, you don't know. Don't know. No idea. And I'm looking at Sloat, and if there was a whisper of anything, Sloat would have it in there. You just comment on about the Mona case. You know, I presume it's just a legal advisor who's what does he describe it as? The proceedings are likely to be routine and very dull. Both cases.
She might be the Harvey mentioned in the case of Harvey versus. I mean, she could be Harvey, Mrs. Harvey, the widowed Mrs. Harvey. It's hard to know.
Where's that one mentioned, Bill?
It's at the last sentence. The Court of Appeal reservation of judgment in the case of Harvey versus the Ocean Accidents and Guarantee Corporation. So that's the case involving the bark Mona and the insurance company.
Yeah.
The judgment's been reserved. They haven't made a judgment yet in terms of the amount to award, and I think it's under appeal.
Yeah.
Maybe the insurance company didn't want to pay, and Mrs. Harvey sued them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's in the list. It just says litigation about a policy, then the name, arbitration between Harvey and the Ocean Accident Company Limited, and the outcome was the court reserved judgment.
Yeah, but I actually think that there are at least three court cases here. So. And they're in different divisions as well.
Right.
It could be. Yeah.
Whether this woman has just been in there listening to them, I don't know.
That's a possibility too. It could be her afternoon entertainment, just to go to court and listen to, be in the gallery and listen to different cases. Some people did that for fun.
Yeah.
Left the building of the courts of Chancery, King's Bench, Chevron.
You see, there's different divisions.
Yeah, I think you're right though about three cases. It's the case of the lunacy of Potterton. That's one, and then the Admiralty Division.
Yeah.
The Lady Cairns versus the owners of the bark, and then the Court of Appeal.
Yeah.
Was the Harvey versus Ocean Accident.
Yeah.
Right.
So she's a spectator, all right. Yeah, good point.
And
Well, she heard them all, apparently.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. She's there for the day's entertainment because it says she heard in the Lord Chancellor's court the case of blah, 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 and then in the court,
Admiralty, yeah.
in the Admiral, and then in the Court of Appeals. So she's been to all three courts and heard all these cases.
yeah.
All the time, cleverly disguising herself as the
As Queen
Queen Victoria.
Certainly, an ex parte motion would have been a very short hearing.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible there were three fitted in there.
Yeah. And Dave, she's there as a reincarnation.
There it is.
Yeah.
So does somebody want to offer a comment on some of the books that
So who are the best Queen? One of the best Queen Victorias ever was Peter Sellers. I'm trying to remember what movie that was in, but he was terrific as Queen Victoria. And there was another one with Spike Milligan in The Great McGonagall, if you ever saw that movie. Anyway, that's a digression.
So is Bloom just passing the time in here, trying to escape from what's going on?
Oh, he's going in to get a book for Molly.
Yeah.
Bring the books from Molly, yeah.
Yeah, she asked him in the morning, or he said he would get her another book because she didn't like the one she was reading.
That's kind of like the secretary we just saw who didn't like the book she was reading.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Great McGonagall, Bill.
Yeah. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, it's about William McGonagall, the worst poet in the world. And he really was a horrible poet. But he was convinced, he actually walked all the way to Balmoral from Glasgow to see Queen Victoria, and they wouldn't let him in, and he walked all the way home. He was convinced, I mean, he used to send his poems to her. He was convinced he was going to be the next poet laureate, but his poems are horrible. I highly recommend looking them up. Look up William McGonagall poems on the Silvery Tay, the bridge over the Silvery Tay.
Yeah, is that the Tay Bridge disaster?
The Tay Bridge disaster. It's a great poem.
You know the poem. It's really bad.
Oh, it's hilariously bad.
It's read for fun.
Yeah.
So,
but he didn't write it for fun. He was in all earnest. He was convinced he was a great poet.
Yeah.
But Spike Milligan did the movie version, and it's worth watching if you ever
Good old Spike.
can find it. Yeah.
Bless him.
So are we going to end here for today?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think it's three.
Yeah.
It's almost 3:40 already.
Is there anything to say before we go about the books that he's looking at and what he chooses and what he rejects?
He did leave one on the counter there, and it was an autobiography of Queen Victoria.
Oh no! Oh, no. Where did you see that?
I saw it in my brain. I was just having a pop off, Dave.
You're kind of just trying to emulate Joyce, I think, by throwing things
No,
in.
I'm just winding up Dave, that's all.
And it's work.
Well, with a name like Sweets of Sin, it's amazing that it wasn't banned in Ireland.
Well, it may have been. I mean, this could be. I mean, there were books. You know, there have been book dealers everywhere that will sell you the banned book.
Yeah.
If you know who to ask. And he's been at this place before, I think. He knows this guy. Maybe not.
Oh. Oh dear, I don't think I could go into that bookshop. That
Yeah.
man coughing and spluttering and spitting on the floor. I mean, God. It's pretty disgusting. I'm glad I've had my dinner.
It's obvious, but it seems like the bookstore specializes in books involving sadomasochistic writing. I mean, the book by Lovebirch obviously is about sadism, and the other one by Sakhar Mossak is about masochism.
Yeah.
I'm going to slip away, guys. Have a good evening.
See you, Donna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take care,
Very
John.
good.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.
See you tomorrow.